Yeah, so well, I've been one of them was Portuguese.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you already know how our meeting works and everything?
Okay.
Okay, very good. And your name is?
Right.
I'm Lydia, right?
Lydia?
Yes, very welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get going. 7 o'clock. Somebody can help me with the music. Oh, hello everybody. Nice to see you. Nice to be here in a very small group, but a very intense meeting as usual. Uh, as we do every single meeting, we like to start with a reading of the book Happy Life. It's a very short message that helps us to tune in with the spirit world. And right after that, we will have a talk with Miss Fernanda Gurgel. And right after that, we have about 5 minutes of we either do radiations at a distance, vibrations, or we do a moment of meditation. And you're all going to be invited for the passes. So let's see what we have today. I'd like to open randomly. Okay. Do not put all your hopes in entertainment, trips, parties, and play. Wow. If the opportunity arises to enjoy them, fine, take advantage. Take advantage of it, and you will find that these pleasures pass away just like any other satisfaction you pass. I'm sorry. You will find that these pleasures pass away like any other satisfaction and leave you anxious for new chances to enjoy them, and so on, forever. Some people sacrifice their future, taking out loans and making payments with a lot of interest rates to live these illusions of life which come back to haunt them when the debts must be paid. Look for simple, lasting pleasures, those that do not disturb the present or enslave your future. Wow. We all can enjoy life, mainly at this time of the year in Florida, right? The weather is just perfect. We don't need to put our hands in our credit cards and to enjoy life as it is. We are very lucky to live in Orlando, to live in Florida, mainly at this time of the year. In July, I don't know if I'm going to say the same thing, but at this time, for sure. So let's consider that life is so much more than entertainment. And I always like to praise people who come here on Thursday night, because so many people are doing things that do not matter. And we are trying to feed our souls with something much more than just plain entertainment. So we are entertaining different things in our lives, and we are going to start doing this right now. I will invite you for a moment of prayer, as we do in every single Spiritist meeting. So if somebody help me with dimming the lights that help us to concentrate a little better. And why not, right? To have this beautiful, beautiful music in the background that help us to connect with the high dimensions of the spirit world. So now, first of all, let's connect with our spirit mentor, guardian angels, as they call them. We all have one, protecting us, inspiring us, helping us whenever needed. Let's also contribute to others' peace. So let's wish each other the best we have in our hearts. So well-being, fraternity amongst us now help us to raise our vibration even further. And our mind has the power to create beautiful, beautiful images that can become alive with our emotion. So let's visualize this room being transformed in a beautiful garden. Flowers, trees, everywhere. Inviting us to meditate. And right up front, we see a beautiful lake that help us to serene our thoughts, to calm our thoughts down. And let's elevate, let's lift our thoughts to the Creator, to the one who created us all. And we say in our spirits, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. May God be with us tonight during this meeting to the end. So, very good. We kindly ask all of you to put your cell phones on vibrate or on silent, even better, so we can enjoy our lecture in the best way possible. Fernanda is going to tell us a little about the Spiritist view on spirits, right? Good and not really good. Okay, very good. Welcome, Fernanda. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see so many faces here, some new, some old, so welcome back. Tonight's study really is a study. We're gonna be talking about spirits, right? Angels and demons, that's what we denominate them here, but really spirits. So, as my friend Al always says, I take no credit whatsoever. Everything I have in this talk tonight comes from these books, right? The Spirit's book, the Medium's book, the Gospel According to Spiritism, and Heaven and Hell. So all of them combined bring us a very ample view of what we usually call angels and demons are, where they come from, and why do we denominate them like that, right? So it's interesting because we started with a beautiful prayer where we are told to connect with our guardian angels or our spirit mentors, right? So outside of Spiritism, they are known as guardian angels. And the view that we have on them basically is that these are spirits, or these are beings that have always been perfect, right? So on our limited point of view, when we look at a guardian angel or an angel, let's just talk about angels, right? We're thinking of beings that are purely spiritual, or beings that are superior to us, to humans, right? We understand them as perfect beings. It's almost impossible to look at or to envision an angel and think of them having flaws like you and I have, right? So that's our normal view of them, right? In many religions and in many different places in the world, they're usually classified as fiction and allegories. Something that everybody talks about, we envision them with wings and all that, but no one has really been able to fully describe where they come from, what they really are, right? And they are an essential part of many dogmas, right? So as we study different religions, we will see the presentation of elevated beings or angels in many of them, right? So first argument that we can put in there is they're purely spiritual, right? The Spiritist view of God is a fair and just God. So if God is fair and just, how did an angel get to be created perfect, right? Because that's how we envision them to be, where we are here suffering trials and undergoing so many tribulations. So that's one of the first arguments that we can put against that, right? They are superior to humanity or any other races. Again, same concept. Where is that God that's fair and just to all of us, right? So the argument that they are privileged creatures, they were given all virtues and all knowledge, whereas you and I are here struggling to learn a little bit every day, right? So the biggest argument, where's the fairness in God if he allowed that to happen, right? That's how I know, I look at it and I'm like, could that be possible? Could that be fair that I'm struggling? I fall and I have to get back up and struggle again. And they are created, with wonderful little arcs, and they live in a heaven where all they do really is sit on clouds. And, from the allegories that you see told to kids, they jump from cloud to clouds and play harps all day, right? And here we are struggling every day. So, fact. There are beings that have all the qualities given to angels. This reassures the faith of all different peoples in true or complete happiness. So the fact is that there are what we call angels or elevated spirits, right? They exist. Fact, however, is that we are created simple and unaware, and that means every one of us, including them, right? Lacking conscience of good and evil, however capable of acquiring such knowledge. So they were created like me and you, but the choices they have made have taken them there faster. And we're going to talk about the skill of spirits in a second. Work is the way to acquire this knowledge. Perfection is the end. So we're born unaware and lacking knowledge. You and I, every one of us have the exact same starting point, and we have the same end goal, right? So our goal is perfection. We want to become like these angels, or as Jesus put us to us in the Bible, you are gods. You were created like me. You can do everything I do and more. So Jesus told us this 2,000 years ago. He reassured us that we can get there. It's up to me and you to make that transition into that level of evolution, right? So perfection is the end. That's our main goal. So the goal is the same for everyone, and it's up to me, my free will, my choices to get there, right? We all have the same steps to climb. So before we talk about the skill, let's talk about demons, and basically it will be the opposite of what we just talked about, right? So demon, by the way, from the Greek, actually means intelligence. It means neither good nor bad. It just means the ability to have intelligence. Over the course of the millennia, we transformed the word, and we call them, and I think we have here, we call them also fallen angels, right? Which brings us back to God's fairness, right? Would it be fair after I struggled and I got through all the different levels of the scale and I finally got to become a better person, that I eventually just drop off to the bottom of that scale again, right? So if it's work that moves me forward, once I move forward, how fair would it be if God allowed us to just fall off that scale and become complete evil, which is how we personify Satan or demon or words like that, right? There is no fairness in that either. So either way we look at that, if there is someone that was created purely good or purely evil, God is not being fair. Second, if God created evil, that means that God is not all goodness as we recognize him to be, right? So there's a lot of different things that we can discuss and argue on the vision of pure evil and pure good. And if we believe that God did not create evil but demons exist, then it probably pre-existed God, which also goes against the belief that God is the creator of everything, right? So either God is partial or something existed before God, and that's going against all the beliefs that we have of God being the creator of everything, right? So neither demons or angels are distinct entities, as the creation of intelligent beings is the same. So every one of us, demons and angels and you and I all alike, were created the exact same way, right? When I talk to the children, it's actually very interesting. We talk about the evolutionary scale, right? The progress, the scale of progress, and we talk about the beginning and the end. And the best way that the kids can understand that is you draw a straight line, right? This is Jesus' way for us, right? He says, I am the path, the way, and the life. So this is the best way to get to God, to become a perfect spirit. And when I'm teaching the kids, they will go and say, oh, so if I start drawing around and going around like this, it's going to take me longer, right? And that's the reality of it. And that's the kids' perception of it, which is pretty fantastic, right? This last week, I was talking to them about the exact same subject. And I was explaining to them how sometimes it takes us a long time to learn something, right? That's true in school, in one grade, sometimes takes us a lifetime or many lifetimes. But once we learn, we don't regress. However, if we deviate from the path, we eventually have to come back. And this child said to me, so if it took me, say, 10 years to learn and graduate from high school, for example, but I decide to get away, to skip school altogether, right? When I come back, I have to come back to where I was. I said, I eventually have to come back and learn all the different steps, right? So we can't go from being 7 years old and first grade to being 15 and being 10th grade without going through second, third, fourth, fifth, and so forth, right? And the kids get that because it makes sense. So we are created the same way. We are created perfectible. We're created unaware, but we are given the ability to acquire knowledge, right? That's one of the biggest abilities that human beings have, is that we acquire knowledge. So this means that there are spirits in all levels of evolution, and we choose where we want to be by the means of our actions. Again, if I decide to take evil actions, I will have to get back into the path. The path is the same. We'll all get back into that path, right? But my actions will dictate my level of evolution. Those who choose to stay in the lower levels will one day have the desire to grow as well. God gave us each the means by their own merit. So we will grow. There is not one single spirit that is in the lower levels that will be there forever, which is very gratifying to know that, because I couldn't imagine knowing someone that I know has done something bad and knowing that they're going to be in the lower levels, hell or however you want to call it, for the rest of eternity, right? So we all have second chances, and it's up to us to take those opportunities. So we're going to go over a lot of questions on the Spirit's book, and that's because in the Spirit's book, which is the first book codified by Allan Kardec, Allan Kardec gathered questions from all around the globe, and these questions are very direct, right? The best way to describe the Spirit's book is there's no going around. You know, he doesn't go around and trying to figure out, he goes straight to the point, and it's fantastic, right? So here's the first question that Allan Kardec had for the higher spirits. Are the spirits all the same, or is there a hierarchy among them? We just talked about them, right? They are of different orders according to the level of perfection they have attained. So from the lowest, the most basic level of spirits all the way to most elevated, we will see that we will move forward based on our the perfection that we have attained. Are there orders or levels of spirits in a determinate number? The spirits tell us that the number itself is indeterminate, meaning there's no definite transition lines from one level to the next, right? As we are evolving, what happens is we will, if I'm learning something, right, I don't wake up the next day being proficient in it. It takes practice, it takes effort, it takes a lot of work. So we'll learn little things at a time, and eventually we'll cross those different barriers and different levels. And that's what they're telling us. However, considering the general characteristics of the spirits, there are three main levels. So the pure spirits, we call them angels, we call them elevated spirits or spirit mentors, right? Those are spirits that have attained maximum perfection. So these spirits, they no longer have a connection with the physical. They don't need to reincarnate anymore, although some may, in order to help us and give us guidelines or to be missionaries to teach us how to become better persons as well, right? Good spirits, those whose desire to do good wins over their desire to do evil. Those whose desire to do good wins over the desire to do evil, right? That means that good spirits, on a majority of the scale, are doing more good than bad, right? We're not just talking the massive bad, we're talking even every day, the transformation within each of us, right? And then the imperfect spirits, they're usually ignorant spirits. They have desire to do evil. Those are their main characteristics. So the imperfect spirits are not always only the evil spirits. They are also those who have become stationary, who have decided they don't want to move forward. Those who are malicious, who just want to joke around, but they don't have any desire to do any good, right? In the Gospel, Allan Kardec talks about the fact that doing good is not just not doing bad, it's actively moving forward, right? So just not doing something bad doesn't make us good automatically. We have to be moving forward towards goodness in order to become a good person. Do the spirits in the second order, so the second order is the good spirits, right? Whose doing good is their main goal, have the will to practice it. They each have this will based on their level of perfection. In that way, some have science, some wisdom, some kindness. All of them, however, must still undergo trials. So, actually, let's talk about 2 more questions and we're going to get into the scale. Are those in the third order essentially all evil? No, right? We just talked about that. There are those who don't do either good nor bad. Others, on the other hand, enjoy doing evil and get excited when they have the opportunity to do so. There are also the frivolous or blundering, more disturbing than evil, that rejoice before the malice than in the malice itself, and whose pleasure is to mystify and cause minor setbacks, which they laugh at. Right? So we can see here, the spirits in the third order are not necessarily just the very, very bad or the very, very worst of the scenarios, right? It's all of those in between as well, but they have not learned to do more good than bad yet. So the classification is based on our level of progress. It is based on our acquired qualities and imperfections that we still have to work on. There's not an absolute scale. That's what we were told, right? Question 93. The transition is very subtle. But it more or less looked like this, right? So let me see if I can figure this out. So we are all here when we start. We are all lacking knowledge, right? We were created without knowledge. However, with the ability to comprehend and to start taking in the understanding. Our goal is to get here, perfection, right? So from this starting point, we are all the same, simple and unaware. When we deviate and we go sideways from this path, which is the path that Jesus has taught us, this is when we go to the places where we today call evil or demons and things like that. However, understand, they're just spirits like me and you who are growing through their evolutionary path, right? And not one single one of us will be ever left behind. However, it takes my own effort to move forward. So Jesus, God will give us the opportunity to redeem as many as necessary. But until I learn and I make the decision to change myself, I can't go back to that path, right? So the imperfect spirits are those simple and unaware. So matter predominates over good. The good spirits already have the will to do good, right? Predominant. The spirit starts to predominate over matter, and the perfect spirits are the spirits that have found perfection. So some of the characteristics are for the imperfect spirits, their tendency to do evil, the predominance of matter over spirit. So they want to be in the physical world. They need the physical world in order to thrive, right? Many of them live off of ignorance, pride, selfishness, carnal passions, right? They do have the intuition of God, however, they don't comprehend Him. When we are created, we all were created with the intuition of God and the intuition of that perfection we want to reach. But like a child, right? When you're trying to teach a child and that child takes the time to understand the lesson, it will learn a lot faster than the child that will throw tantrums and defy you for that lesson. They don't want to take the time, and we're somewhat like that on a much bigger scale, on a many life scale, right? So in the beginning, some of us, and those are who today we call angels, right, the higher spirits, accepted the lessons and they took those lessons in and they learned from them and they moved forward. Whereas some of us threw tantrums. We didn't want to take the time and to be in school, right? We were too proud. We had other things to do. It was too nice outside or something. But we fought against those lessons, and it takes us longer to get to the same place. But we all do have that intuition, and one day we will break through our own selves, our own big case that we develop, right? That barrier that we develop, and we will see that once we accept and we allow God in our lives, everything changes, right? It doesn't mean that things become perfect, right? It's not because I believe in God that life becomes perfect all of a sudden. We still go through trials, we still have deceptions, we still have illnesses. However, our understanding and our ability to go through our trials change, right? So instead of fighting against God, why am I the one that's sick, for example, I start to say, you know what, I can learn from this illness. Obviously, it's not my most favorable place that I want to be, of course not, but I can learn from what's going on in my life right now, right? This is what changes in us. That's the point of God, the intuition of God that starts acting on us. So imperfect spirits, some are neither good nor bad, but not doing good shows their level of evolution as well. Others thrive on doing evil things and on the opportunity to do them. So there are 5 levels of imperfect spirits, right? So the impure spirits, so they said that there is no definite scale, right? There's many levels in between, but they said for the sake of understanding, I'm going to show you a more or less definition of them so we can follow that scale, right? So from the bottom of the scale and growing up, right? Then we have the impure spirits, which are the spirits inclined to do evil. We have the frivolous, which are malicious spirits. They basically do without thinking, right? They're not concerned with the truth. They just want to incite us to do something. They really just want to laugh at others' setback and things like that. Pseudo-knowledgeable. They have a lot of wisdom, but they believe they're better than they are. They usually are filled with pride, jealousy, obsessions, right? They're self-centered. The whole world is around them, and this is what they believe it is. I am the only one that knows everything, right? The neutral spirits, they are attached to material things. They don't do neither good nor bad on both moral or intelligent levels. So they just are. They're not inclined to do anything. They don't want to do bad, but they really don't want to put any effort forward and do good either. Disruptive spirits, these are spirits that are the most attached to the physical qualities of matter, right? So they are able to act over the physical effects when intelligent, right? All spirits can act over matter from the beginning to the end of that scale. However, because of their ability to act over physical matters, a lot of times the elevated spirits will use their expertise, if I shall call that, to create physical phenomena, right? Because they have that ability. So they're almost like working in a way, right, for towards good without even knowing. So those are the 5 levels of the imperfect spirit as the Allan Kardec got the description from the higher spirits, right? All of these are in the Spirit's book, and let's go from question 97 and forward a little bit. Then we have the good spirits. So the good spirits are towards the top half of the scale, right? They have a desire to do good. They're not perfect yet. They still fall and they're still going through trials and tribulations, but overall they're trying to become better persons, right? We have a friend of ours that says we should all be right here somewhere, right on that part of the scale. And we are, look, we're here on a Thursday night trying to become better persons, right? So the good spirits, they comprehend God and the infinity of life, and they're able to enjoy a relative happiness. Again, as we're saying, it doesn't mean that everything becomes perfect, but when we modify the trials that we're undergoing from being a victim of those trials to being able to undergo through them because we know God has control of everything, we change our point of view, right? Things happen to us that sometimes are out of our control, and I can place myself as a victim and be fighting against God and fighting against the world because it's not fair, because I, right? But when I look at it, I see that other people may go through the same things, or I also see that maybe it's an opportunity for me to grow. So if I have trials to go, why not now? This is the right opportunity, you know? So I'm still going to go through the pain and suffering that I'm going through, but now I no longer fight God. I tell him, give me strength to go through that suffering. You know, I change my point of view, my perception of it. So they are happy for the good that they do and the evil they avoid, right? So a spirit that's growing, if you've been here before, you've heard me talk about my biggest thing that I'm learning this lifetime is definitely patience, right? So we start learning that instead of answering right away and just getting that response because I'm so angry at what they said, right? I take a step back and I try to analyze what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? And then suddenly things change, you know? You still have to deal with the situation. Yes, the situation has come up. You're going to have to deal with it. But things change. And then you will become more able to recognize your energy, our own energy, recognize what we can do to modify, and also recognize why I'm going through this. Why do I feel this way, right? There are studies that tell us that the way we feel about what people do to us is a reflection of what we have within us, right? So why am I so bothered about what he or she did? Why am I so bothered with that? What was that action that makes me react this way? So we modify that behavior so that we learn to control ourselves, right? We learn to overcome that situation. And once we overcome that situation, that scenario no longer bothers us on the same level. So good spirits also have kindness and benevolence as some of their main characteristics. 4 levels as described in the Spirit's book, right? So we have the beneficent spirits. Their kindness is their predominant quality, and many times with limited knowledge, right? So we know some spirits that have incarnated like that. For example,